and environment has instilled a strength in me. And as we know in Nigeria, you have a lot of things that happen that are out of your control, but you have to find a way to evolve and adapt. And I think from the age of 6, 7, I was very lucky to have that. I went to the oldest school in the world called King's Canterbury, started by St. Augustine in 598 AD. This was the secondary school I went to. And my life seemed pretty, what they say, gold-leafed at the time. Everyone's like, you enjoy, you're in Nigeria, you're in London. I learned to speak Spanish. Unfortunately, I lost my Yoruba, but I'm trying to get that back. I learned to speak Spanish and French. But at the age of 17, my father had a stroke. And he was working too hard, obviously. And sadly, my mom and dad had split up by that time. So my whole life that seemed so rosy stopped because my father's business partners, all of them somehow took the business and it went away. And from that going away, we were left destitute. My dad was in a coma for 3 months, and my mother, who wasn't working, because my sisters and I have 2 lovely older sisters, Yewande and Gigi, we were still in school. So much so that my last year's school fees were not paid. But one of my uncles kindly paid for my school fees, and my mother had to go to work. She started her own business. She too was a journalist, Mrs. Ibiene Epega, but she started a chauffeur driving company and started using cars to drive people with her staff. So from that age where I thought a university was going to be given, I was left floating in the abyss because we didn't have financials. So for 1 year I had to work in a post office in London, and it was quite an eye-opener for me, but it didn't stop me from adapting. And again, adaptation helped me grow. So from being in a very wealthy family as a young man, coming to the age of 17 to become an adolescent, grown-up, I realized that nothing is given. My father sadly was in a stroke, and when he had that stroke, he became semi-paralyzed. For another 30 years, he was semi-paralyzed. But my mother died quite soon after that time in a car crash on the road to Warri, because my Okrika side and Warri side is where my mom was from, even though my father was Ijebu. So my mother died at the age of when I was 21, which was 20 actually, when I was starting university. And my father was semi-paralyzed. So I became the father of the family, even though my sisters were older and far more intelligent than me. But being the man, I had to take control of a lot of things. And I think that's what really gave me the tenacity to understand that I really need to be someone who doesn't just walk in one field. I need to spread my risk. From my university, I did mathematical economics and Spanish. I was able to go to University, Queen Mary College, London University. And from there I finished, as I said, I worked again. So I worked before I went to uni, and then I worked afterwards. And for me, life is about collaboration, communication, and tenacity. And I think those were my first 21 years. There were less people in Lagos in those days. I won't lie. I grew up every summer and even Christmas where we could afford it. Back in my day, 1978-79, Naira was 0.8 to £1. So you can understand that people were very wealthy. I think in those days there was like 40 million people. It wasn't that much of it because my dad was an estate surveyor. So we used to go to Abuja a lot. And he was one of the surveyors that gridded Abuja when it was being built during the late 70s, 80s with Obasanjo, and even before Murtala Mohammed. They were gridding it. And Lagos, or should I say Abuja, was made the capital. And Abuja is a model city of Milton Keynes, which is a model city of Paris. Just like Brasilia in Brazil was changed from Rio de Janeiro as a capital. So for me, coming back to Lagos was a joy. I enjoyed it because I was young. We used to just walk, run the streets on our bicycles and cycling, just exploring. Everything was open. There weren't as many cars. It was no big apartments, and there weren't as many people. So I had a beautiful time. There were a lot of lizards on the ground, and we used to throw stones at them. But that was my own youth. We used to go to the beach a lot. Bar Beach was around. It's not around now. Sadly, my dad used to take me to Bar Beach to see the capital punishment killings of armed robbers, and even Dimka, who was one of the leaders of the coup d'etat against Murtala Mohammed. We saw him shot there. Saturdays was a big day, and NTA used to have a channel. I think they still have their studio there. So one of our aunties, Miss Julie Coker, was there. So we saw a different side of Nigeria. We would go to Ibadan, we'll go to Ijebu, we'll go to Benin, we'll go to Port Harcourt by road. In those days, you could travel, and along the way, we go to Akure, you pick up mangoes, you pick up coconuts, my dad will pick up palm wine, all these things on the road that I don't know if you get it now, because security is an issue. So for me, it was a romantic time. I think fashion, evolving through Nigeria, has started as a siloed industry. By that I mean every individual was doing their own thing, whether they were a seamstress, a tailor, a designer, a stitcher, they were doing their own thing. But we are realizing that with the 200+ million people we have in Nigeria, you can't be an individual alone doing your own thing. So the evolution of fashion that I've seen in my own small way, as someone who's worked in the industry, is that there's more collaboration. The designers are looking for hire specialist artisans to help with their stitching, the styling, and the putting together of clothes and accessories. So I'm also seeing small grassroots shoots, very small at the moment, of the government playing a part in bringing together some kind of foundation so people can articulate their fashion designs to the world, because we have seen it in a lot of music. Obviously, Afrobeat is one of our biggest exports in this country. Obviously, there's oil and all the others, but I'm talking about within this entertainment, luxury, lifestyle industries. So we're trying to learn from that how private sector can play a part to enhance this fashion sector. So now we're seeing a lot of vibrant colors, a lot of styles. Men fashion is big. It's not just women's fashion. Men's grooming is massive. Hair and beauty as well. So men are taking care of ourselves more and more. And accessories. Accessories, I think, is fundamentally the quick fix of fashion, where we can enhance and create jobs and hyper growth in GDP by focusing on this. And this is where I implore the government with, working in mineral resources, our precious metals, semi-precious metals, help those industries to grow. There's a great lady, Janet Adeyemi, who works in Women in Business, and she's working within that. Let's help our fairer sex, or the female gender, to grow in business as well, because there's a fundamental knowledge that if half your population are women, as ours is roughly, or maybe 51%, 52%, you have to educate the women so they too can add to GDP. It's a simple economist theory. You can't leave them out of it because it's very important. And these industries in fashion are enhanced by women, and we need to push that forward. I think the banking system needs to be augmented, and I'm saying this from the government's perspective. The ease of doing business in Nigeria, as an investor myself, a foreign investor as well as being an indigent in Nigeria, the problem is not getting your money to Nigeria, it's getting your money out of Nigeria. Not that you want to suck all the money out of the country, but what can help is the floating exchange rates, the flow and liquidity of money that can come in and out of the country. A lot of investors are worried about how they get their money out of Nigeria. So I think our banking system, going back to the central bank, which they're working on, needs to be much more fluid. so people feel they can invest and take money out. But also, we need to articulate what is on offer. We need to start some kind of documentation of who is available to have investment with, where they can be found, because it's because we are quite an opaque economy, meaning that people can't see the end of where they're putting their money. Once we do that basis and open up the lights within which kind of businesses are available to be invested in, I think a lot of investors, domestic and international, will be more willing to put money to it. I think content creation for me has been an evolution. I started as an ex-banker, as I said. I used to trade futures and options in Barclays Bank. I was on the Life Exchange, trading bonds, and I found that wasn't my life. I wanted to be more closer to people. Some people can be bankers on the trading desk or trading floor, but not for me. So I started doing events. I was very lucky enough to show that I was quite adept at doing events. So a big company called Richemont, they owned Cartier, Dunhill, Hackett. They were part of British American Tobacco. They took me on to do their events. So I was doing a lot of polo matches, a lot of Christmas parties, a lot of brand activation events in England. So for me, I got a lot of content knowledge from that. Different styles, people, different countries. But in the last 10 years, I felt that helping companies like LinkedIn, Google, all kinds of big banks in Europe and America was not my remit. My business, EMC3, was going very strongly in America. But as a Niger man, I didn't feel love in America. I know that everyone says it's the land of opportunity, but being someone of my own African descent, I didn't like the mentality there. People are good, but the infrastructure is racist institutionally, as we know. So I felt I wanted to give something back to Nigeria. And with all the 20 years of, at that time, about 17 years of knowledge I gained from doing some of the best Grand Prix parties in the world, Formula One, around Monza, Silverstone, Abu Dhabi, I was doing a lot of events. I thought, let me take this back to Nigeria. I didn't have to come back to Nigeria. I wanted to. And I know with all our grievances with Nigeria, if you ask many Africans about Nigeria, they'll say, they look up to us. You guys, you have Chinua Achebe, you have Wole Soyinka, you have Fela Kuti. What's your problem? You have Chimamanda Adichie. What's your problem? So we have to take ownership and say, yeah, we do have all these people. We have Afrobeats, whether it's Burna Boy, Davido, the Venus Bushfires, all these different people that are exported. Let us look inside and say, wow, we do have a lot. So I wanted, as a content creator, to show Nigeria in all the different sectors that we do have a lot. And that's why with the marketing and communications company that I've started, my own company, I felt I could touch so many sectors. And finance, as I mentioned, I work with banks. Also government, Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, a very great entity. I work in fashion, with brand labels and people across the board. There are great shops like Alara here that also promote African fashion and African business. And did you know even Leventis does a lot of research, Nigerian bottling company, to help this country. And you know Nigeria was blowing glass 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years before Europe knew glass blowing. And it's been found in Oyo State only recently. So it's very important that architecturally we take ownership of our country. The NOC civilization that has been in the mid to, I think it's above Abuja, near Benue, and even Niger River, above those basins, that has a lot of artifacts and a lot of archaeological excavation potential. But we've allowed that just to linger. People have stolen a lot of our artifacts. Nigeria was known for Benin bronzes. We were the best smelters of iron before people were smelting iron. So these are things we have to take stock of. And me as a content creator, I bring all that information together and I make sure that people acknowledge it and are aware of it. So then that will uplift us all. Now, this is a political question, but I believe with our background of the last 20, 30 years, we've had, sadly, leaders who have been militarily inclined, let's just call it that. And as we know, military people, they don't like educated people, because educated people will ask questions. So we have had what we call a dismemberment of education in Nigeria for the last 35 years. And that has played an endemic part in retarding the gross domestic productivity of our country, because our youth and even people up to my age and older have not had the infrastructure, middle-class education that is needed for a country to grow. You look at the Industrial Revolution in the 18th, 19th century in Europe, especially in Britain, and you look how they were expanded by merchants and artisans and specific skilled workers. Apprenticeships were big, education was huge. There was what they call a noblesse obligée, a nobility obligation, that people who are rich give back to institutions, not to church, to institutions that will help education. And that is where I think we've had a disconnect. Education was lacking. So for me, the way that we can help, it takes time. This new government is in. They are trying to implement the 8-point agenda, which is a good agenda. But everyone's looking for results now. Nigeria has been in a very bad state. There's global downturn. Obviously, cost of living is so high as it has been for a while. Nigeria is exacerbated, but in Europe, cost of living is high. There are some stupid wars going on around the world that has meant oil prices have skyrocketed. And you know, with the rocketing of oil, everything goes up price-wise. So Nigeria needs to reevaluate education and apprenticeship. I believe even in fashion industry especially, apprenticeship is very important. Whether it's weaving, designing, marketing, online, whatever it is, factories, you need apprenticeship. And that's the quick fix of education. But education is fundamental to everything. Education of men and women, or girls and boys, both. Let's be honest, we need both sides of our genders to work together. You know, Yoruba, we've always been what we call a dual binary kind of culture. We've always thought of male and female as one, and it's very important. Even in our names, Taiwo and Kehinde, you won't know if it's male or female. So we have to really educate ourselves that we can work together. And I think our women are our future, and I can't even emphasize that more. And education is key, but it takes time. I think Japa syndrome is very real. Everyone wants a better life, let's not lie. You want a better life for yourselves, but for your family, your parents, your children. And the opportunities in Nigeria, even when you have been educated and you finish graduate here, to find jobs is not easy. The infrastructure is very bad for job creation. And this is being worked on, we know. And the last 8 years has been fundamentally broken. But we know this new government is changing that. But specifically, Japa in Canada, they need our brains. You go across the world and you ask any nation, especially America, who are the best educated, the best, integrated, and the most proficient people, Nigerians. So it's not that we are stupid, it's that we don't have the infrastructure at home. And America, Canada, Europe, they're giving us the infrastructure. So getting out of Nigeria is not easy. There are opportunities and policies that allow it, but going across the border to Libya is not the way. You spend $5,000, $4,000, which is almost 4 or 5 million naira, to try and get to Europe, and then you're treated like a dog when you get there. That's not the way. But, you know, there are certain policies that can take you to these countries. And in Britain, for instance, it's not all, the streets aren't paved in gold, but if you earn £1 in Britain, you send that home, that £1 is 1,300 naira. So, and the minimum wage is £14 an hour now in Britain. So you can do the maths of that. So someone who is earning £14 an hour, if they work 10 hours in a day, they've earned over £100, which is 100,000 naira. So the mass, of course, is what makes people want to go there, because even if you are working there, obviously you were paying British rates, so your rent, your cost of utilities, your food and drink, your transport comes into play. It's not cheap there. But the money you send, even if you're only sending £100 a month back to your mom, that's 100,000 naira. So, or 130,000 naira in today's rate. So you can do the maths. That's why people are going. And the security in these countries is, and the education, to be quite frank, is better. But it doesn't mean they are better. We have to build a house, you must thatch the roof from within, so your roof doesn't cave in. And I think that's very important. Not that people shouldn't go home. I mean, go out of the country, but they should always come home as they can. Because we need, you see the Pakistanis doing it, you see the Indians doing it, you see the Arabs, they go home and they build their own countries. It's not good to just japa and leave. You have to come home as well. I think my success is down to, as much as I can say a success, because it's still a book that is not finished and the stories are still unwritten, is a tenacity of hard work. It's very important that people understand that it takes a lifetime to look like an overnight success. It doesn't just come. What I'm still doing, I'm not the most successful in my business, but I love my business. And if you can find something that you love and you can make money out of, then you're in heaven on earth, to be quite frank. I think my spirituality and my faith is very important, as is my wife's. My wife, Helen Epega, she wrote the world's first Pidgin English opera. And we've been staging it here in London. We played in Cape Town, in Nairobi, and in Lagos, And we've staged it in London. We're at the Royal Albert Hall next year. I'm executive producer of that. So I think my success, to add to that, is that I put all my eggs in one basket. And I work very hard to make sure I research and obtain knowledge of the next thing, or what was the last thing. I'm a historian as well. And I put things in perspective. And I try to add value as I can. But as my momsy used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So I like to listen as well. And from children you can learn, from grandpapa you can learn. So humility is very important. I'm not arrogant with it. And I think that's the most important part. Collaboration, humility, and shared drive. But also knowing that for me, Saturday and Sunday, I'm off. That's my time for the family. I take a break. Sunday, even God rested on the 7th day. Me too, I rest. I'm not 24/7, even though this weekend we have a big fashion event, but that's work. But when I take my tools down, it's tools down. No one can call me on Sunday morning. So you can't be BOing to people. Never let anyone own you like that. That's what I say. Someone calling you on Sunday morning, obviously in journalism, in film, it's a different projects. I'm not saying every time, but just be aware of yourself and your mental health. That's the most important. Sure. The world's first Pidgin English opera is a show about a Nigerian fabled people. It's almost like Orisha, but it's not. There are people who are Mami Waters, as well as they are spiritual people. They are the guardians of the galaxy, to use an expression. There is God, the all-faithful God, and the all-knowing God, omniscient, omnipotent. But below that, there are all these almost demigods that look after, let's say, this sector of the universe. And these people are singers. They sing opera, but they sing it with Pidgin English. And you know, Pidgin is a language that is known by most Nigerians, but it's a language that people shun and say, it's a bad language. But they speak Pidgin in Hawaii, They speak pidgin in China. They speak pidgin, Old English Cockney is pidgin. American even is a form of pidgin because they Yankified English. So what my wife has done, Helen Epega, she's also known as the Venus Bushfires. She's an Afrofuturist musician. She composes songs. So she put together this compilation, which is a pidgin English opera musical. And it's a show that lasts for about 45 minutes or an hour and a half. It depends if you're doing the short version or long version. So we have tenors, we have sopranos, we have violinists, we have kora player, and my wife plays something called the hang, which is like 2 tortoise-shell steel drums that sound like a harp. And she plays that, and she sings. She's the main protagonist in this. And it's a drama about all these people that have come, the many people who are meant to look after the planet, but they lose their voice. So Earth is, because God is angry with them, the Earth, and says these people are rubbish. But the many people say to God, please, give them one more chance. They're not that bad. I know they're fighting, there's lots of wars, but give them another chance. So the lead Kanate of these many people has to go to the Venus Bushfire, which is the heavenly celestial place, to bring the voice back, to sing Earth back into harmony. So it's a drama, and it kind of plays on our old cultural awareness in Africa and heritage of Nigeria of there are other beings. You must have faith in your ancestors as well as in a God. And the deities, as we know in Yoruba, I think there are 7 deities, and these are very important cultural awareness that we try to give to children as well. I think the filmmaking in Nigeria is burgeoning. AFRIF, the African Film Festival, International Film Festival, is on now, which is a great show. I helped incept in 2010, many years ago. We had it in Port Harcourt. It was Governor Rotimi Amici that started that campaign, but it's going on very strongly now. Nollywood, as we call it, is being noticed by the international market, whether it's Netflix or Hollywood. I would like to tell you something, actually, which is, I haven't divulged this for many years. My great uncle, whose name is Pa Orlando Martins, God rest his soul, was one of the first African actors in Hollywood. He acted in the 30s with people like Ronald Reagan, Katharine Hepburn, and Bob Hope. And he always played a part as an African prince or chief. He was never like denigrated or made into a lower African slave or anything. And I think that instilled something in my mind with this film industry. I think it's very important that Nigeria, as it is, we have some great actors like Wale Ojo and Ramsey Noah. They are playing part in producing their own shows. And it's very important. Like in America, you obviously have people like Mel Gibson, Robert De Niro, who have produced their own films as well. That Nigerians are not just actors or technicians, they're also producers and directors. It's very important that we have that link within our industry, and we make friends and we forge relationships, not just with Hollywood. There's Bollywood, the Indian industry, and there's also Chinawood, because China's film industry is massive. Technically, I think that's just as big as Hollywood. So we must look to ourselves in Africa as well. There's some great film makers from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, and I think collaboration I always use collaboration because I would not be here without collaboration. Obviously, my wife, you collaborate with your spouse, but also my businesses. I have a very good English business partner. He's really a business partner. I've started a new business. I collaborate with all kinds of industries and different sectors. So for film industry, I think it's important that we push our heritage forward, because people want to know about Nigeria. In Africa, they love Nollywood stories, and that's a fact. And we can expand by using distribution. Distribution is key. Netflix, all the Hollywood film houses, negotiate with them. Even if you don't get the best price for this show, make sure you check your contract, make sure you get it for your next film. So I think that's important, distribution. While I'm still alive, that's a very good question. Hope springs eternal with me. And I am optimistic about Nigeria. I think Nigeria is not what we all will think it will be. It's something it's a country that needs to be more fluid. We have in diaspora a lot of powerful individuals and groups. I think we need to connect even more with those individuals and groups who need to invest in Nigeria. Our youth is very talented and is very able, but it's also very abundant. So we need to find a way to link up education, apprenticeship to these youth to give them something that is productive to work in. And that means expanding your mind as parents. It's not just doctors, lawyers, bankers that we need. We need artisans, we need creatives, and that's the most important point. It's a mind block. So for me, if we can work on Nigeria's mind psyche and the taboos of oh, we don't want our child to marry a musician. You know, even as a musician, you don't just have to be a rapper. You could be a music engineer, you could be a filmmaker, you could be an engineer that works with the technical aspects of editing, you could be a designer. There's so many aspects. So I say to my utopian Nigeria, learn from your brothers and sisters. International research online is very important. And for me, the dream is to see Nigeria as a fluid country of strength in Africa, where we're trading with African countries and we're using what we have as our assets. Technically, of course, we need Europe and America and everything, but we have it in Africa. We have it in Nigeria. So my beauty of Nigeria would be if we become our own Wakanda, working with other African states and enhancing our own GDP as well as our region and our continent's GDP working together. Gosh, my favorite, what's the first one? Food. As you can see, I like my food. I like a mixture actually. I like amala. I like yams. I swallow very well. Whether it's with ogbono soup, that's very good. But also, from my mother's riverside, there's one seafood okra that my mom used to make. And I still strive to find that. I go and find that whenever I go away. In London, you have some nice Nigerian restaurants, and in Lagos, of course, as across Nigeria. But nothing like home cooking when my wife makes me a nice, I suppose she makes a lucy for me, eba, and that's my staple. My best music, I love Afrobeats, of course, but predominantly, I'm a Fela man. Ebenezer Obey. I like the old styles. And I also like Zaire music. There's high life that comes across Africa. But to be a lie to say I don't like Jimi Hendrix. I like Jimi Hendrix. He's a guitarist, a Native American, African-American guitarist. I love his kind of music. So those are my mainstays. And Gorillaz and De La Soul are still very great music of mine. Those are my Spotify at the moment. What was the other question? I like wrestling. They used to call it Gidigbo back in the day, Yoruba wrestling. I used to love that. I haven't seen that much lately, but I like Nigerian wrestling. Obviously, we play good football. We're great footballers as well, globally. But you said Nigerian sports. Polo. Nigeria, I like Nigerian polo as well. To my young brethren and children of Nigeria, I say it's important hard work. Hard work, research, and belief in yourself. Obviously, times are very tough at the moment, and money is tight. But with your own creativity, you can build your empire from there. I always believe that from one's mind, you can make worlds, and you shouldn't give up. Obviously, if you're not very great at one thing, you find what you are great at. But always be honest with yourself and treat others how you want to be treated. And remember, collaboration is the key or the little sister of success. And always have a smile. Very important. That's what I say.
I was born on the 16th day of October, 63 years ago. I'm from Opobo, yeah, and went to school. I'm from Rivers State, from Opobo in Rivers State. Went to school in Port Harcourt, lived in Port Harcourt all my life, from primary to secondary school to A-levels. Then after A-levels, I got admission to Unilag. Immediately after Unilag, I got married, and I've lived in Lagos ever since. Well, it was fun for us because me and my husband were very young. My husband was 25, I was 21 and all that. But we learned on the job. We were friends. We were friends for 3 years when I was in Unilag, university. And we came out, we got married. So we're like children that just got married. But I had my parents. My parents were his very good friends. So when I get naughty, he would report me to my parents. When I didn't know these kind of duties were demands of somebody's wife, they would tell me this is my responsibility. I'm like, no. I will agree to some, I will not agree to some. But I mean, it was fun. We had our ups and downs, but we kind of pushed through it. And then the children started coming, and it was a different ballgame. You know, when you come from that kind of family, it's like part of your system. You don't really regard it as anything anymore. But sometimes I get the shock of my life because there was a time my in-laws came to Opobo for one ceremony, and I saw the king. And he gave me a hug and he gave me a pick, and they were like, whoa, the upper Benin won't even shake your hand, you know, as a woman. I'm like, okay. I mean, it's the same family, you understand? So we're used to that. I think we take it for granted. But maybe some other people say, you must call me a princess, you must call me that. I'm not into all those kind of things. I'm not at all. I've never been. So I can't start tomorrow. But yeah, great King Jaja of Opobo, my great-great-grandfather. And my children, when they studied it in school, they went to Corona school. So they came, Mom, we're telling our teacher and our classmates that this King Jaja of Opobo, they told them about King Jaja of Opobo in school. And they said, that's my mommy's great-grandfather. Like, whoa, no, it was like a big deal to them. For us, Absolutely, upbringing and my personal choice too, because you could be brought up one way and choose to go another way. You understand? One of my philosophies in life is like this: you're not the tallest in the world, you're not the shortest, you're not the prettiest, you're not the ugliest, you're not the richest, you're not the poorest. Oh, of course, get with it. Do you understand? If you're looking for beauty, there are more beautiful women than you. So if you're looking for ugly, there are uglier women. If you're looking for tall, you're looking for rich. So what is it? Do you understand? You didn't come into this world with anything. You're not going to go with anything. So just be grateful to God for whatever you have or whatever you are. Work towards improving on it, improving your relationship with God Almighty and improving your relationship with your fellow human beings. That's my philosophy in life. So what's the point of carrying all the air and chips on your shoulder? It makes life heavier for you. Seven is my favorite number. It's a number for perfection, and I was born on the 16th of October. My star sign is Libra. We're always looking for perfect balance in everything. It's just an influence from the horoscopes, I'm told. But J is my husband's name, D is my name, and 7 is my favorite number. Lazy way of forming the name of a company, isn't it? So I did, and it stuck. And I knew I was going to go into couture, so that was it. Easy. I was a victim of circumstance. I keep saying it. I didn't really come into business to be a fashion designer, to go into fashion, and creativity has always been something that's innate. Okay, even before I started making clothes or doing this, I used to always give designers the styles that I want them to make for me. I didn't have tailors. But when I finished my NYSC at Nigerian Television Authority in Victoria Island, I decided I wasn't going to work there. I wanted to work in a more organized setup. You understand? Because of management traineeship, because I never worked all my life. My parents were too very protective. I'm the last girl in the family. They were always very protective. So I said I wanted to work somewhere, and I prayed about it. And I got into Unilever. Then it was called Lever Brothers. And for 5 years, but the intensity of work there became a bit much for me because I was a young mother. I had 2 kids then. Was going on having the 3rd one, so it became a bit time. Sometimes Unilever was one of the biggest. When the international directors come in, we used to be the ones to host them with all the Unilever affiliates. Linkers, the advertising agency used to be here, all the Nigerian breweries, USC, you understand, AJC, we're all Unilever group. Sometimes I won't get home until 3 a.m. when we are hosting, and with kids in the house, it can be a bit much. So I'm like, I prayed about it and I decided something has to give. It's either your family, your children will not give them the attention they need then, and they were growing fast, or your job will suffer, and then you will not be happy whichever way. So I decided, you know what, let my priority be my family. And I decided to go back, and I put in my resignation. That was not what I'm fine. When I did, my chairman refused to accept the resignation, so I had to use another way to encourage him to accept it. So I left Unilever. I said, okay, I wasn't the type of person that was suited for being a housewife. I wanted to do the kind of business I would do, but still have 100% time for the kids. So when the kids said they're having something in school, I'm there, okay? I decided I was going to just market corporate gifts. When I was in Unilever, I was the assistant corporate affairs manager in charge of press. So, and being in Unilever at the corporate affairs level, I already knew a lot of companies. So I used that opportunity to get back to those companies and introduce my new business. And in the first year, I actually made more money than my 5-year stint in Unilever. So that was the normal encouragement. You make more money, do your own business. You have more time for your kids, for your family, and for yourself. And you travel quite a bit because you have to go and buy the corporate gift. So it was a win-win. Then, a few years down the line, the president, Olusegun Obasanjo, came in and said they were doing backward integration and they were going to stop the importation of all this corporate gift and a lot of other things. So we were actually forced to look inwards. And when we started looking inwards, that's when it hit me that apart from Big, that was being produced by Eleganza, we're not really manufacturing anything in Nigeria apart from textiles and maybe I think Eleganza was doing food flask or something. Which corporate body do you want to give as end of year gift? So what we had to do now, because a lot of my clientele were like Shell, Chevron, I started looking inwards. I said, okay, if I have to do something, I can do beddings, pillowcase trimmings, table covers, table placemat, napkins with fabrics like I showed the other day. I can do jute bags, It came to me. So I had to go and buy one machine and employed one tailor. So sometimes they will call me. I did some samples. So even in Abuja, when they were going to have, like I remember the West African Women's Affairs, they had a conference. So they wanted jute bags, and we had about 1,000 or 2,000 jute bags, and that was quite nice. Plus, apart from the end of year, so that's it. But after those periods, you have periods of lull, like you're not using the machine and the tailor. You have to be paying tailor for doing it. I'm like, why am I going to these people to make my clothes? Tailor, oh yeah. This is the style I want. I started first by giving some of my clothes, repeat it. You did well. So I started designing. I could sketch very well. I was a science student in school, but I could sketch really well. So I was scared she would do well. And sometimes when I wear the clothes and I go to supermarket, some women will just call me, hey, I really like this thing you're wearing. Please, where did you make it? I'm like, okay, I'll give you the address. I give them the address. They started coming. Before I could say that, within 1 month, I had over 50 women I had to make clothes for. And the one tailor was no longer enough. I had to employ 2 others. That was how we started. From 2 to 4, then I had a whole factory before you could see that. I started making school uniforms, started doing all kinds of things. And then some of the magazines, like Genevieve magazine, looked around like, are you sure you make this outfit? I thought you were a broadcaster. I thought you sell. I said, yes, I did. So I did some photo shoot session for her, and I modeled the clothes actually. And whoa, I started getting calls from Paris, from the UK. I did DC Fashion Week. I was just, and they will pay your ticket, pay your hotel, please come and showcase for us. Some will even say, please come and open the show for us. Some say, we want you to close it. I'm like, okay. There are places that I would never have thought of going to, like Burkina Faso. They will back me the top fashion designers there when the Al-Fadi does this thing once every 4 years. Al-Fadi in Niger. The Niger government sponsors it. He calls all, including Elisab, every international designer, they will go, especially the Moroccan ones, those North African ones, Indians. So they invite one designer from each country. So they used to call me to come because of what I used to work a lot with Ankara and SOUQ, and I do international acclaimed, how would I put it, couture outfits with Ankara, big hats, funny looking, structured clothes and all that. So that was how it went, And I did all the magazines. I've won all the awards. So after a while, I started thinking of concentrating on exports. In the process of doing that, my husband took ill. After 2 years, we lost him. So when I came back home, I gave a lot of things a lot of thought. My kids were still in school. My daughter got married. She was in Australia already. And then my 2 boys were still in school. So I said, look, this fashion design group is not going to pay school fees in pounds sterling and dollars. So I said to myself, you know what? Why don't you give the man hours to the industry, the family business that were yielding the most income? That was how I started kind of just saying, you know what, let me just minimize it a bit. My core clients were still coming. So I kept the tailors, my experienced tailors that worked with for years. I kept few of them. And I kind of cut down on that business. I said, you know what, let me just go and face the family business and do this for the people who really know what I'm doing. And word of mouth goes. So I'm still doing that, but my priority is really not that, When you look at me the first time you see me, you see a fragile woman that don't like to sweat, that's spoiled, that like to be kept. I'm like, what? Absolutely not. My husband didn't want me to do anything. He just felt he wanted to spoil me. I said, that's not how to love me at all. Please. It's either you kind of understand the person I am. I'm a very creative mind. This mind has to keep working, or I'll make life miserable for you, What I will advise, even women who are willing to work, you don't even do one job. You must get at least more than 2 streams of income. Otherwise, you will not make ends meet. That is the truth of today's world. You understand? Then those ones that want to be kept, no matter how wealthy your husband is, wealth is not static. Some people start today. When they retire, everything goes downhill. Some people mean well. They love you. They want to take care of you. But nature calls. They part ways. Some marry other women, some leave, some die. You understand? So anything can happen. I will advise them, everybody, try to be as independent as you can, financially independent. I think you actually earn more respect when you do that. And then also, when things don't work out too well for the husband, no matter how rich you are, you don't have to put him through too much stress. You can take care of yourself, you can take care of yourself, you take care of him, you encourage him, but let him not feel that the world has come to an end. You know, a man feels happy when he knows that his back is covered, even when he's not making it. You understand? It doesn't make him lazy, it makes him very grateful. Yeah. So I will advise everybody, get something doing. Do something that will enable you to earn good income if you can. Do something that you also enjoy doing. I've always believed in garbage in, garbage out. Yeah? Garbage in is the stress abound. You cannot control that. But you can control your attitude towards stress. Stress is the #1 killer and ages of everything in this world. It's your attitude to stress that you have to manage, and that depends on you. What you put in your mouth also depends on you. Your mind, your heart, your spirit, your soul. You have to be loving. You have to be forgiving. You understand? All that depends on you. So it's actually you that decides whether you're going to age gracefully or you're not. Forget about the genes first. It's true. You understand? Some people are so malicious. When you offend them once, oh my goodness. They will carry it in their chest, and the chest will be expanding, and they won't sleep well, and they begin to have problems. Meanwhile, the person you're angry with does not even know you exist. It's crazy. So for me, it's just be free and take life easy. Take it as it comes, and always be grateful to God. I'm too honest and straightforward. It's either I will be killed immediately, or because I will tell you the truth, no matter who's asked is God. I don't think I can play politics. I'm not a politician at all. I am a very straight shooter. I will tell you to your face when you're doing stupid things. That was my relationship with my mom, my dad, my husband. So most times, I'm the last girl in the house, so maybe when they were disciplining the first ones, by the time they got to my turn, they were a bit tired. So we could talk to my parents and it's black. They will say it's yellow. I can't do that. For the love of me, I can't. So politics is not my call. And because of that, they will not allow your creativity to come out, your sincerity. What's the point? Yes. I'm actually planning some kind of. I met some of my old models that are doing very well. And you know, when you deal with a lot of these girls, some of them have traveled with me to Niger. Sometimes they'll tell you, bring 2 of your models. You know, some of them, we have very good relationship. We're going to do a reunion one of these days. It will be fun. And they are all calling, when are we going to do this? I say, don't worry, we'll get a reunion done. Because we need to revisit the fashion industry, see how things are going. They're doing well. The new ones are doing well. And I just pray that the environment will not discourage them, you know. It's not just Nigeria, it's the world. Whatever is happening in Nigeria is what the truth is. A crate of egg in Nigeria is still cheaper than a crate of egg in the US and in the UK, even with the exchange rate. So it's not just Nigeria, the world is experiencing some kind of. The way I see it is like the pangs of birth before the child finally comes. You know, that intense labor. And then when the child is born, everything is calm and beautiful, everybody's happy. I think we are just towards the end of the labor pain. It's going to get better, but we're going to pass through a lot of that before it gets better. And when it finally gets better, we'll all be smiling. But right now, the whole world, not just Nigeria, is crazy. If you look at international, listen to international news, it's actually crazier than here. I just pray. Yes, I live opposite, I won't even say it, on the street. One of the big men that live on that street, his birthday was yesterday, and the whole street was filled with beggars, hungry people. It was really crazy. I felt so bad. We were pushing each other, killing each other, fighting just to get a plate of jollof rice. It was very sad. It didn't used to be that bad. There were a few people who would come hang around, but the whole street, I couldn't move anywhere yesterday because of it. But I hope it gets better soon, so that the best in all of us can come. Because hunger and poverty can actually bring out the worst in people. Naturally, yes. I have an NGO that I do. What I do, I take girls, young girls that are not able to complete school because of poverty, and I educate them. You understand? I try to pay school fees, help people. I believe in education a lot. Yeah, because I don't believe in giving you the fish. I believe in teaching you how to fish. I have few of them from my place come stay with me. Some of them are able to stand the discipline. Some of them are not able. So the ones that are able to stay, they stay, and they do very well. Some of them I train from a distance and they do well. So I've had university graduates, I have A-levels, I have all kinds of things. That's what I do. And most people come to me naturally, not because I'm a trained mentor or anything. When you do anything out of love and out of sincerity of purpose, and because they see you as genuine, they listen to you. You understand? When you mean well, you tell people the honest truth, and they, it's not easy sometimes, but yes, a kind of mentor.
Of what makes us human is our ability to pay attention, be present in our experiences, and channel our thoughts and actions towards meaningful goals. However, for individuals with ADHD, which is considered a neurodevelopmental disorder, a medical condition that affects the brain, this fundamental aspect of human nature is often disrupted, leading to difficulties in maintaining focus, controlling impulses, and regulating behaviors.
This hyperactivity disorder is a neurodevelopmental disorder that occurs in children and adolescents. It's a problem that has to do with brain development and the brain function. And the ADHD symptoms range from inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. They may be very restless, fidgeting, and they're always on the move. And sometimes they may be climbing, jumping from here and there. They may injure themselves in the process.
Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD, is one of the most common mental disorders diagnosed in children, though it can persist into adolescent and adulthood. The history dates back to 1798, when a Scottish doctor, Sir Alexander Crichton, observed that some individuals were easily distracted and unable to focus on their activities as others could. He noted that these symptoms often began early in life, which is consistent with what we now recognize as ADHD. The disorder typically manifests between the ages of 3 and 6, with symptoms such as difficulty in focusing, excessive movement inappropriate to the setting, and impulsive actions occurring without forethought. This ailment affects people of all ages, though most commonly diagnosed in children. The average age of onset is around 7 years, with symptoms significantly impacting various aspects of life. Approximately 5 to 10 of children worldwide are affected, with the highest prevalence rates observed in Africa at 8.5% and South America at 11.5%. Variations exist across different countries, with lower rates in Japan and Finland and higher rates in Jamaica and Thailand. In the United States, about 7% of children are diagnosed with this disorder, reflecting an average of prevalence globally.
Differentiate between ADHD and other developmental disorders. It starts with comprehensive assessment. And when I talk about assessment, I mean assessment by child psychiatrists, assessment by child psychologists, and other professionals in the mental health team. And of course, there are some basic symptoms that are very clear and obvious. The clinical presentation, when you see a child that is hyperactive, that is impulsive, that is inattentive, that itself can give you a clue that that child may be having ADHD symptoms. And again, you also take further history. You may need to take, if there's a family history of ADHD in the setting, because if there's a family history of ADHD, the child may come up with ADHD in the nearest future.
Individuals affected faces challenges that extend into academic performance, work or personal relationships, and social domains. Some of the signs include constant fidgeting, impulsiveness, and difficulty completing tasks, alongside emotional struggles such as mood swings, low self-esteem, and frustration.
The diagnosis is made following a comprehensive assessment, and you also do some basic psychological investigations, and of course, by combining the report from the child psychiatrist and the child psychologist, you'll be very comfortable to make a diagnosis. And of course, I must say that there are some childhood disorders that may mimic ADHD, like learning disability, like autism spectrum disorders. But the symptoms of ADHD are so very obvious that when you see a child that is hyperactive and oftentimes restless, oftentimes impulsive and unable to follow instructions, that should give you a high index of suspicion that that child may be struggling with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
While it's not a physical ailment like a broken bone, it is a real condition that is frequently accompanied by other conditions such as major depressive disorder, anxiety, substance abuse, learning disabilities, conduct disorder, and oppositional defense disorder, which complicates the management and treatment of the disorder. Treatment for ADHD typically involves a combination of medical therapy and behavioral interventions. Stimulants are also the most commonly used, with 70 to 80% of children experiencing symptoms relief. Cognitive behavioral therapy, anger management, and family therapy are key in managing symptoms, along with educational interventions that enhance coping strategies and organizational skills. While these treatments help manage ADHD, they do not cure it, highlighting the need for ongoing support and personalized care. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD, is a complex condition with far-reaching effects on behavior, cognition, and emotional well-being. Continued research and effective treatments are vital in helping those affected lead fulfilling lives and contribute meaningfully to their society. Grace Komolafe, SOUQ News TV.
At the African Development Studies Center, ADSC, We are committed to driving sustainable growth and development across Africa through innovative training and research. Our mission, empowering leaders, policymakers, and professionals with the tools they need to create lasting change. With customized training, dynamic research programs, and study exchanges on leadership, management, and other critical development topics, ADSC offers a platform for exchanging cutting-edge ideas and global best practices. We provide comprehensive services in research and consultancy, capacity building and training, education programs, publishing and knowledge sharing. Our esteemed faculty, composed of seasoned experts and researchers, ensures a learning experience that is insightful and practical. We specialize in policy development, implementation strategies, and monitoring and evaluation. At ADSC, learning is engaging and enjoyable. Our unique methodology includes talks, interactive exercises, games, video screenings, and lively seminar discussions, all in a comfortable and friendly environment. For more information, email us at info@adstudiescenter.com or call +234 912 039 2362. Visit our website www.adstudiescenter.com to explore our programs and upcoming events. Africa Development Studies Center, rethinking development for Africa.
Hello and welcome to World News. We're reaching you live on SOUQ News Television. I am Olumide Shokoya. Let's begin with today's top stories. President Bola Tinubu approves posting of ambassadors designated to fight $1 million to expand solar power agriculture across Nigeria and 5 other African nations. Colombia suspends electricity sales to Ecuador, imposes 30% tariff on 20 products amid rising tensions. And in sport news, Morocco's King Mohammed VI vows African unity despite deplorable incidents in African final against Senegal. We'll bring you details after this break. President Bola Tinubu has approved targeted incentives to unlock Shell's long-delayed $5 billion Bongo Southwest deep offshore oil project, directing a special advisor on energy, Oluvehayan, to ensure that measures are gazetted within Nigeria's existing legal and fiscal frameworks. The approval was granted on Wednesday during a meeting with a Shell delegation led by Global Chief Executive Officer Wael Sawan at the State House, Abuja. According to a statement issued on Thursday by the President's Special Advisor on Media and Public Communications, Sunday Dari, the incentives are designed to revive stored deep offshore investment, boost job creation, and attract foreign exchange inflows. The Bongo Southwest project has faced years of delays amid fiscal uncertainty and rising development costs. The government believes the intervention will restore investor confidence in Nigeria's offshore sector and accelerate other pending projects. Officials say aligning incentives with current laws avoids other concessions while improving projects' economic nationwide growth. The federal government said it disbursed 152 billion naira to contractors for a verified contract responding to ongoing concerns over delayed payment. Minister of State for Finance, Dr. Doris Uzoka Aniti, explained that the payment followed strict verification procedures in line with existing laws and regulations. She stressed that only verified contracts were processed to ensure transparency and accountability. Dr. Uzoka Aniti acknowledged the financial strain contractors have faced due to delays and pledged that the Ministry of Finance would continue to process all valid payment requests. Analysts note that timely disbursement is critical to sustaining contractor operations and supporting ongoing federal projects across the country. Following Nigeria's participation at Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, the Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority (NPA), Dr. Abubakar Dansoho, received UAE Consul General Salem Al-Jaberi at NPA headquarters in Marina, Lagos. The meeting aimed to strengthen ports development, economic growth, and trade volumes, particularly in the non-oil sector. The engagement follows a memorandum of understanding signed by Nigeria's Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, at the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, focusing on strategic collaboration in port development, maritime logistics, and digital solution. Dr. Dansoho said the NPA, under directives from President Bola Tinubu and the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, is committed to consolidating synergies with Abu Dhabi. Officials noted that the partnership is expected to enhance efficiency, modernize port operations, and expand non-oil trade, supporting Nigeria's broader economic diversification and strengthen bilateral relations in maritime commerce and logistics. The Nigerian Navy has intensified efforts to expand its indigenous shipbuilding program, aiming to enhance operational capability and reduce reliance on foreign-built platforms. The commitment was highlighted at the 9th edition of the Doha International Maritime Defense Exhibition and Conference in Qatar, held from January 19 to 22. The event was attended by Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Idi Abbas. Analysts say the initiative reflects Nigeria's broader strategy to strengthen national defense, support a local industry, and achieve greater self-reliance in maritime security. Observers note that developing domestic shipbuilding capacity could improve fleet readiness, create jobs, and ensure long-term sustainability for the country's naval operations. Now, President Bola Tinubu has approved the posting of ambassadors designate to France, the United States, and the United Kingdom, the presidency said on Thursday. The announcement was made in a statement by the presidential spokesperson, Bayo Ononuga, in Abuja, as reported by Newsmen. The move follows the Senate's confirmation of the president's ambassadorial nominees in December 2025. Officials said the appointment aims to strengthen Nigeria's diplomatic presence in key global capitals, enhance bilateral relations, and promote trade, investment, and security cooperation. Analysts note that the timely deployment of the ambassadors will be critical for advancing Nigeria's foreign policy priorities and boosting international engagement with strategic partners. Nigeria has invested over $50 million in biotechnology research and development of climate-resilient seeds over the past 2 years, officials said, as part of efforts to boost agricultural output, deepen value chains, and strengthen national food security. The disclosure was made by the Director General of the National Agricultural Seed Council, NASC, Fatuhu Mohammed, during the launch of the stakeholders engagement of a project. He delivered a keynote address on variety adoption and its impact on agribusiness, highlighting the importance of improved seed for sustainable farming. Mohammed was represented at the event by the Director of Seed Industry Development, Kunle Adesheko. Analysts said the funding underscores Nigeria's commitment to modernizing agriculture, enhancing productivity, and supporting agribusiness growth. The initiative is expected to benefit smallholder farmers, improve crop resilience, and strengthen the nation's capacity to withstand climate shocks while boosting export potential. The federal government has signed the formal concession agreement for Akanu Ibiam International Airport in Enugu, officials said. The ceremony took place on Wednesday, January 21, 2026, at the Ministry of Aviation and Aerospace Development in Abuja. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, signed the agreement, marking a key step in efforts to modernize Nigeria's aviation infrastructure through public-private partnerships. The signing signals the government's push to attract private investment and improve airport operations nationwide. The minister received a combined delegation of Enugu State government officials and representatives of Aero Alliance and the concessionaire. Analysts said the agreement is expected to enhance passenger experience, upgrade facilities, and boost regional economic development by improving connectivity and supporting trade, tourism, and aviation sector growth across Nigeria. Still to come in the news, a British Prime Minister described U.S. President Donald Trump's comment on NATO's role in Afghanistan as deeply disappointing on Friday. We'll bring you details and more after this break. Stay tuned.
It begins with the ordinary. A shopper walks into a supermarket, picks a product from the shelf, marked 2,000 naira, and gets to the counter only to be told it costs 2,400 naira. To most Nigerians, it's just another frustrating moment at the checkout. But to the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, it's a violation, one that captures the complex realities of consumer rights and fair competition in Nigeria's fast-moving consumer goods sector. Between March and August 2025, the FCCPC recorded 1,543 consumer complaints within the FMCG sector, the second highest across all industries during that period. The complaints range from deceptive marketing and product defects to poor disclosure of terms and delayed complaint resolution. The FMCG industry, known for its quick turnover and intense price sensitivity, remains one of Nigeria's most competitive sectors. Yet, beneath its vibrancy lies a network of compliance hurdles and market pressure points. Bayo Olaoye notes in this special report that the FCCPC continues to face tough challenges in maintaining balance between regulation and market realities. He explains that some trade associations allegedly adopt restrictive practices such as uniform pricing, high membership fees, and entry barriers, which can distort fair competition if unchecked. In one notable case, he recalls, the FCCPC sealed a supermarket in Abuja in February 2024 after discovering discrepancies between displayed prices and checkout charges, a clear case of deceptive pricing. According to Olaoye's analysis, Nigeria's Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act, FCCPA 2018, provides the strongest legal foundation for consumer rights protection in the country. The Act guarantees the right to safety, requiring that all goods and services sold to the public be safe for ordinary use. Unsafe products must be withdrawn immediately once identified. It also guarantees the right to information, ensuring that consumers receive accurate details about price, composition, quantity, and use conditions before purchase. Where goods turn out defective, the consumer is entitled to repair, replacement, or refund. Sections of the FCCPA further prohibit false representation, bait advertising, and exaggerated claims, with sanctions reaching up to 10% of a company's annual turnover. Olaoye points out that state agencies such as LASCOPA complement FCCPC's efforts, helping consumers access information, redress, and awareness of their rights. Despite these laws, FMCG companies operate under immense economic strain. Rising inflation, forex shortages, and unpredictable input costs have made compliance increasingly difficult. Several multinationals have either scaled down or exited the Nigerian market, citing high operating costs and regulatory pressures. Still, as Olaoye observes, consumer protection and fair competition remain non-negotiable principles for any healthy economy. In 2023, the FCCPC fined a multinational FMCG company $110 million for abusing market dominance and stifling competition. Olaoye highlights the case as a major signal of the Commission's resolve to hold both local and foreign players accountable. Olaoye argues that compliance should not be viewed merely as a legal requirement, but a strategic business investment that strengthens consumers' trust and market credibility. He recommends that FMCG firms integrate compliance clauses into contracts, conduct regular audits, and maintain transparent pricing practices. Predatory or collusive pricing, he warns, can damage reputation and attract severe sanctions. The way forward. For Nigeria's FMCG sector, the path forward lies in collaboration, transparency, and innovation. Olaoye concludes that legal practitioners and compliance officers must continue to bridge the gap between policy and practice through staff training, regulatory monitoring, and transparent communication. I'm Moyosore Adibi, SOUQ News TV.
Thanks for staying with us. The World Bank has approved $50 million to expand solar-powered agricultural solutions across Nigeria and 5 other African countries. Now, the program aims to boost farm productivity, reduce post-harvest losses, and widen access to clean energy. The funding will support deployment of solar-powered cold rooms, refrigerators, water pumps, and grain mills in Kenya, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Sierra Leone, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Implementation will be led by CLASP, a Washington, D.C.-based non-profit focused on energy efficiency and clean energy access. Officials said the initiatives target smallholder farmers, improve food storage, and lowers reliance on diesel, supporting climate goals and rural incomes across participating countries. The project also seeks to strengthen value chains, enhance resilience to climate shocks, and scale affordable technologies through local partners, training programs, and private sector engagement, with monitoring frameworks designed to track impact, adoption rate, and long-term sustainability outcomes for farmers and communities across the region. South African rand edged higher in earlier trade on Friday as investors awaited central bank's interest rate announcement next week. Analysts said market participants are positioning ahead of potential policy changes. South African Reserve Bank will decide on the main lending rate following a 25 basis point cut at its previous meeting in November. The upcoming decision is closely watched amid expectations for further adjustment. Officials noted this will be the second policy meeting since Finance Minister confirmed the central bank's inflation target has been narrowed to 3% from previous range of 3 to 6%. Observers say the move signals tighter monetary discipline and may influence rand volatility, lending costs, and investor confidence across South Africa's financial market. A British minister, described U.S. President Donald Trump's comments on NATO's role in Afghanistan as deeply disappointing on Friday, highlighting the sacrifices of European soldiers in American-led operations. President Trump, in an interview on Thursday, criticized the alliance, saying the United States had never needed NATO and that its allies stayed a little off the front lines in Afghanistan. The remarks drew swift rebuke from the European officials and defense analysts. United Kingdom officials said the comments undermined the contributions and sacrifices of Allied troops, many of whom lost their lives in combat. Analysts noted the dispute underscores tensions over burden sharing with NATO, with European partners seeking recognition for operational commitment while maintaining transatlantic security cooperation amid evolving global threats. India and the European Union are expecting to announce the conclusion of long-running negotiations for the free trade agreement on Tuesday, according to government sources. The deal will reduce tariffs on European cars and while expanding markets for Indian electronics, textiles, and chemicals. The announcement may follow India Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meeting with European Council President Antonio Costa and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Now, the leaders will co-chair an India-EU summit in India from January 25 to 28, officials added. Analysts say the agreement could boost bilateral trade, enhance investment flows, and strengthen strategic economic ties. Observers note it reflects growing cooperations between India and Europe amid global trade realignment and rising efforts to diversify supply chains. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has requested amendment to Lebanon's draft rescue law designed to address the country's worst financial crisis, according to Prime Minister Nawaf Salam. Now, the legislation aims to restore depositor access to savings frozen for 6 years, known as the Financial Gap Law. It is part of broader reforms required by the IMF for Lebanon to access international funding. Now, the law proposes to distribute losses from 2019 economic crash among the state, the central bank, commercial banks, and depositors, officials said. The amendments are critical to meeting IMF's condition and securing funding to stabilize Lebanon's economy. Analysts noted that swift legislative approval and implementation are essential to restore confidence, unlock liquidity, and prevent further economic deterioration amid ongoing social and political pressures in the country. China's President Xi Jinping has congratulated Vietnam's Tu Lam on his re-election as General Secretary of the ruling Communist Party, praising Vietnam's development and bilateral ties. Xi described China and Vietnam as a community with shared future. In a congratulatory message sent on Friday, Xi said Vietnam had achieved remarkable results in socialist construction and reform. He noted that the country has strengthened its international standing and influence in recent years. According to Chinese state news agency Xinhua, Xi also reaffirmed China's commitment to deepening cooperations with Vietnam across political, economic, and strategic areas. Analysts say the message underscores Beijing's focus on maintaining strong relations with neighboring socialist states amid shifting regional dynamics. Observers added that sustained China-Vietnam engagements could shape trade, security cooperation, and diplomatic alignment in the Southeast Asia as both countries navigate global economic pressure and geopolitical competition. Japan's manufacturing sector returned to expansion in January, supported by a sharp rise in overseas demand, according to a private survey. The S&P Global Flash Manufacturing PMI rose to 51.5 from December's 50.0, crossing the expansion threshold for the first time since June 2025. Now, the survey respondents reported the biggest increase in new export orders in more than 4 years, driving higher output and new business. Stronger demand from Asia and North America helped offset subdued domestic consumption as households and firms remained cautious amid still elevated prices and uncertain global growth conditions. Manufacturers also stressed improved confidence and future activity, though cost of pressures persisted. Input prices, energy costs, and logistic constraints continue to weigh on margins. Analysts said the rebound signals tentative stabilization after months of weakness, but one sustained growth will depend on resilient supply chains and steady external demand in the months ahead amid shifting trade and policy dynamics. Still to come in the news, Italy and Germany support for an international agreement to control raw material prices to curb China's market influence. This is World News on SOUQ News Television. We'll be right back after this break.
Trafalgar Square, established in 1844, is a symbol of British naval history and a popular cultural spot in London. Named after the 1805 Battle of Trafalgar, it has been the site of celebrations, protests, and cultural events, representing the changing identity of the city. It houses several landmarks, like the Nelson Column, St. Martin in the Fields Church, and the National Gallery. The Nelson's Column, a tribute to a naval hero, is the main feature of Trafalgar Square. Standing 52 meters tall, completed in 1843, it honors Admiral Horatio Nelson's victory at Trafalgar. The column is topped with a statue of Nelson, and 4 bronze panels at its base show scenes from his battles. Surrounding it are 4 large bronze lions added in 1867, symbolizing British power.
Iconic part of British culture, not just in its look, but this is very much the sort of centre of London. You know, whenever there's a celebration, a protest, it's a public space that's very important for a lot of not just people that live in London, but for the UK. You know, it's a place where people would congregate. You know, I remember being here all around the 25 Olympics, but it was very much one of the centerpieces of British culture. Yeah, no, you used to be able to climb on the lions when I was younger, but you can't do anymore. So there you go. That's progress for you.
St. Martin's in the Fields Church, reputed as an architectural gem, was built between 1722 and 1726. It is known for its neoclassical design by architect James Gibbs, and is famous for its portico and steeple, and has influenced architecture worldwide. The church also a rich musical history, hosting concerts and helping the homeless.
Yeah, I actually came to London just on a little day trip, and then I remembered that this church sometimes has classical music on, so I just popped in, and there's no concert, but there were some people practicing. So there's a quartet of violins, and they made some lovely, sort of practiced for some classical concert. So I really enjoyed just sitting there for 10 minutes listening to it. It's lovely. It's a really nice church, and it's nice that people don't use it much time. So we used to have a nice coffee as well.
The National Gallery, founded in 1824, is a treasure trove of art. Located on the north side of Trafalgar Square, it houses over 2,300 artworks from the 13th to 20th century, with free public access to masterpieces from major European artists.
I'm not really sure. I haven't been through the museum yet, but I'm here for a Christian heritage tour to kind of learn more about the history of the Protestant Reformation in England and Christian history here in England through the paintings that are in the gallery. So that's what I'm here for today.
Trafalgar Square blends Britain's naval history with modern art and culture. It remains an important public space, attracting millions of visitors each year to experience London's rich heritage and vibrant atmosphere.
Many thanks for staying with us on World News and SOUQ News Television. Colombia said on Thursday it will suspend electricity sales to Ecuador and impose a 30% tariffs on 20 products from its neighbor, escalating tensions over trade and drug trafficking dispute. The measures follows Ecuador President Daniel Noboa's announcement that his government would levy a 30% security charge on Colombian goods starting February 1st, citing a trade deficit and limited cooperation in combating drug trafficking. Analysts said the tit-for-tat action risks deepening economic friction between the two countries, affecting cross-border trade and energy supply. Observers noted that unless both governments engage in dialogue, the dispute could disrupt regional commerce, strain bilateral relations, and impact businesses and consumer dependence on energy and trade flows across the Colombia-Ecuador border. Russia said it will hold security talks with the United States and Ukraine in Abu Dhabi on Friday, while cautioning a lasting peace remains unlikely without resolving territorial dispute. The announcement followed late-night discussions between President Vladimir Putin and 3 U.S. envoys, underscoring continued diplomatic engagement despite entrenched differences. Kremlin aide Yuri Shkavov told reporters the meeting, which began shortly before midnight and lasted about 4 hours, was substantive, constructive, and very frank. He said the talks addressed security guarantees and broader conflict dynamics, but made clear that Moscow's position on territory remains central to any durable settlement. The planned Abu Dhabi talks signals ongoing efforts to manage the conflict through dialogue, even as core disagreements persist. Analysts say the progress will depend on whether the parties can bridge gaps on sovereignty and borders, issues that have stalled previous negotiations and continue to define the trajectory of the war. The Trump administration announced on Thursday plans to restructure or eliminate nearly $84 billion in clean energy projects funded during former President Joe Biden's tenure. Officials said the move is part of a broader shift in energy policy priorities. The action signals continued emphasis on fossil fuel and nuclear energy while reducing support for alternative energy sources such as wind and solar. Administration officials said the restructuring aims to streamline funding and focus energy projects deemed more critical for national security and economic growth. Analysts said the decision could slow progress on renewable energy deployment and climate goals in the United States, potentially affecting investment in green technologies and related industries. Observers added that the shift highlights policy uncertainty and the clean energy sector amid competing federal priorities. India and Germany support an international agreement to control raw material prices to curb China's market influence. Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani said on Friday at a bilateral business forum in Rome. Tajani said Italy and Germany cannot accept a system where China alone determines prices, stressing the need for a common strategy that reduces dependency and strengthens supply security. He added that Rome and Berlin hope other countries will join the initiative, arguing that coordinated action would improve price stability, protect industries, and rebalance global supply chains amid rising geopolitical tensions and competitions for critical minerals. Officials said the proposal reflects growing European concern over strategic autonomy, resilience, and long-term access to inputs vital for energy transition, manufacturing, and defense planning. Talks are being expected to continue through diplomatic and industry channels in the coming months as policymakers seek broader consensus across advanced and emerging economies facing volatile commodity markets nationwide today. In sport news, Morocco's King Mohammed VI said on Thursday that African fraternity will endure despite what he describes as deplorable acts during the closing minutes of the Africa Cup of Nations final AFCON between Morocco and Senegal. The controversy erupted when Senegal's players walked off the pitch in protest at a VAR-awarded penalty before returning to secure a 1-0 victory over host Morocco after extra time on Sunday. The incident sparked widespread debate about refereeing decisions and sportsmanship in African football. King Mohammed VI urged calm and unity, stressing the importance of maintaining respect among players, officials, and fans. Analysts said the episode highlights challenges in tournament governance, VAR implementation, and conflict resolution, emphasizing the need for stronger protocols to protect the integrity of African football competition and preserve continental camaraderie. Former Super Falcons striker Patience Averi have called on Nigeria Football Federation to organize more friendly matches for the team ahead of WAFCON title defense in Morocco. The 10-time African champion have not played any international friendlies since their unbeaten campaign at the WAFCON in July 2025. A situation Averi described as concerning with the tournament scheduled for March. Averi warned that the lack of match practice could affect the team's chances of restraining their continental crown. Analysts note that regular friendlies are crucial for tactical preparation, player fitness, and squad cohesion, especially ahead of major tournaments where competitive sharpness often determines performance and outcomes. And that's a wrap on the news, but before we go, here's a recap of today's top stories. President Bola Tinubu approves posting of ambassadors designated to France, United States, and the United Kingdom. Federal government approves incentives to jumpstart Shell's $5 billion Bunga Southwest oil project within legal frameworks. World Bank approves $50 million to expand solar-powered agriculture across Nigeria and 5 other African nations. Colombia suspends electricity sales to Ecuador, imposes 30% tariff on 20 products amid rising tensions. And in sport news, Morocco's King Mohammed VI vows African unity despite deplorable incidents in the WAFCON final against Senegal. Many thanks for watching. Do well to follow us on all our social media platforms at SOUQ News TV. I am Olumide Shokoya. Enjoy the rest of your day.
The Nigerian National Medicine Development Agency, NNMDA, was created in 1997 and backed by Act 2019 to enable the federal government of Nigeria through Federal Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation actualize its critical and strategic mandates to research, develop, document, preserve, conserve, and promote Nigeria's natural medicine defined as indigenous medicine. 4 Director Generals had steered the affairs of the agency since its creation 28 years ago. A new vista, however, opened in the history of the existence of the agency when Martins Emeje, a distinguished pharmacist and professor of nanotechnology, was appointed as the 5th Director General and Chief Executive Officer in May 2023. Before taking on the mantle of leadership at the NNMDA, Professor Martins Emeje was the Chair R&D at the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, with many feats on drug formulation and R&D results to his credit.
I deliberately applied for this job. There was advertisement. I applied. I wrote the exam. It was an online exam. Nobody saw anybody. And 1 hour exam online. When you submit your answer sheet, you have a copy of the answer sheet. So I have the copy of the answer that I submitted online that day. And that is my manifesto. So every month, I look at the answers that I submitted, and it guides me in the work that as a researcher and proudly the first and only research fellow in Nigeria who is heading a research institute, I know exactly the problems of R&D in Nigeria, because nobody in Nigeria has or is currently heading a research institute, and he went through the rank and file from being a trainee researcher to an intern researcher, an NYSC researcher, and then a research professor. This is the background that I have.
Call him a round peg in a round hole, and you won't be wrong, as he hit the ground running, leaving a lot of innovations on his trail, achieving great strides in the areas of education, agriculture, and health, thereby raising the bar in R&D in natural medicine for the agency. From May 2023, when he was appointed, within just a few months, 4 oral solid dosage formulation products were unveiled.
My greatest moment actually happened on 8th of March 2024, when the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Chief Uche Naji, came to Lagos in the campus of NNMDA here to launch 4 oral solid dosage forms. It was not just the first time it was happening in NNMDA, the very first time it was happening in Nigeria. We decided that we will go for education as a major target, as a major KPI. And we went for it aggressively and got accreditation to start a 2-year national diploma in natural medicine. So this agency, for the first time in Nigeria, we now have a school of natural medicine. It's never been heard before. It happened in this administration within these 2 years. Within these 2 years too, because the country saw that we had made explosive advancement in this area, we got upgraded to what we call an awarding body for national skills acquisition in traditional medicine. One of the best medicinal gardens that you can find in Africa right now is in this country, owned by the Nigerian Natural Medicine Development Agency, and we did it these 2 years. In fact, two of our products that is waiting for Mr. President launch was we got our raw materials from our Nasarawa State Farm in Karo. Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava in the world. Cassava. The only country that competes with Nigeria is Brazil. Yet, Nigeria does not have value-added cassava products. Yet, Nigeria imports starch to make pharmaceutical products. We made a presentation to the National Assembly, and the Senate of our National Assembly supported us. So we went into development of pharmaceutical grade starch. Today, we have pharmaceutical grade starch. In health itself, we have developed and submitted to NAFDAC about 23 different products. 23. And they are all at advanced stage of NAFDAC's regulatory assessment at this point. Now, 3 of such products plus 5 of what we did the previous years is available, and people, because we are a research institution not capacitated or competent by reason of mandate and skilling to do marketing, we do proof of concept, and we wait for entrepreneurs of pharmaceutical industries, nutraceutical industries, food industries to come take them to the market, right? But we also owe, because, like I said, the huge component of the Renewed Hope agenda is that people should be attended to, so that they know that they cannot lose their hope completely in their country. So in this environment, anybody who wants drug for hypertension, for malaria, for erectile dysfunction, for arthritis, for diabetes, for hepatitis, for about at least 8 different disease areas. They come to our pharmacy here to get the drugs.
The past 2 years, under the leadership of Professor Martins Emeje, has seen human capacity development like never before. A development that propelled the agency's researchers into breaking new ground.
This agency had never, in its almost 30 years of existence, had never participated in any local conference where researchers went with work they did in their own laboratory to go make competitive presentation. In our maiden outing in these 2 years, we won 2 awards. We went out for the first time and we got 2 awards. We took first position and we took third position. That is gold and bronze. When I came, I met researchers that have been here working for 15 years but with 1 degree. And I told them, you can't be a researcher with 1 degree. So I embarked on rigorous and aggressive drive to partner and collaborate with investors. So we went into that. Today, as I'm talking to you, we have at least 13 researchers and of the agency that are doing different postgraduate studies in different universities in Nigeria. I have a staff that was in Zimbabwe for 6 months. Now he has a master's in intellectual property. At least 7 of my staff have gone to India.
Quality assurance has been one of the top priorities of the NNMDA Director General, and the accreditation of the agency's laboratory and product development unit for pharmacy internship program by the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria a year ago. Under the watch of Professor Martins Emeje, the agency recently graduated its pioneer pharmacy interns.
I went into nanotechnology or nanosciences after PhD, and I had to go out of the country to train in this area for more than 4 years. So it's an area that I'm keen about. I'm one of the first people, if not the first, in Nigeria to have put in practice nanotechnology. What it has done to me as someone who studied Western pharmacy, which is more like macro study, it is that it has taught me how to manage resources, no matter how simple.
The last 2 years has seen NNMDA signing important memoranda of understanding with reputable academic institutions and other critical stakeholders in the areas of training and laboratory services to Nigerian universities. As part of its advocacy and public enlightenment drive, the agency brought together critical stakeholders in the nation's natural medicine space for a national dialogue on rethinking natural medicine aimed at galvanizing the needed support and political will.
I want the president of Nigeria to just be coming on television and saying that people, natural medicine, no other thing. Natural medicine, let's do our own. Let's do our own. Let him just be saying it. Anytime he's talking to press, let him say it. Because once people know that this is where the president is, this is where his mind is, this is what his body language is, they will start investing in natural medicine.
A turning point for the agency was the resolution of the National Assembly on Natural Medicine Gazette. The visit by the chairman, House Committee on Legislative Compliance, was a further demonstration of the renewed impetus.
We cannot have 160 million people subscribing to something, and then the remaining 40 million people, you now want to say that foreign medicine, what you call allopathic medicine, that is the superior to our natural medicine. No, it's not. So when the House of Representatives passed that resolution, I told myself, I have now achieved. So what I was thinking would take me 4 years to achieve, actually, we got it done in 2 years. And is one of the, so our target has actually increased. The best place to actually functionalize or operationalize Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President is in the health sector. It's in the health sector. And I always tell people, two things that if you have security in it, then you are safe. Food and medicine. Any intervention, any project that we do, that it is not about developing our own indigenous resources, is short-term. It's not sustainable. The only sustainable form of development is indigenous development. So anybody who wants to give me support now, I will just tell you what I want. For example, I want all my staff to live in this compound. If you go to other countries of the world, all these staff of the research institution, they live inside the compound.
Inspiring a new mindset among staff and attitude to work, for the NNMDA Director General, the task of achieving the mandate and the vision of the agency is work in progress.
Under the bay, oh, 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 under the baobab tree, where shadows bend, the earth whispers tales.
Human rights are a fundamental and universal entitlement belonging to every person by birth, designed to ensure dignity, freedom, and equality regardless of race, nationality, or status. These inalienable rights form the very core of global governance. International human rights law, founded upon the Charter of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR of 1948, establishes the binding obligation of government to protect these freedoms. A key success of this universal framework has been the continuous expansion of its legal body to protect vulnerable groups, including women, children, and persons with disabilities. This universal commitment forms the basis of this year's International Human Rights Day theme, Our Everyday Essentials, which seeks to reaffirm these principles not as abstract concepts, but as the practical foundation people rely on daily. Despite the strength of this legal foundation, challenges in implementation and new complexity result in an uneven global landscape. Millions are facing a critical lack of access to basic needs such as food, water, health, education due to persistent poverty and entrenched inequality. Recent World Bank estimates indicate that approximately 817 million people are currently facing extreme poverty, underscoring the severity of this implementation gap. Rapid advances in technology and digitalization also present novel hurdles concerning surveillance and privacy. Digital access, essential for modern civic participation, saw significant disruption in 2024 with 296 instances of internet service disruption, highlighting the growing threat to digital rights. This challenge is compounded by weak governance and the widespread persistence of armed conflict. These elements undermine fundamental rights by fueling instability and violence, often perpetuated by a lack of accountability for violations. The devastating impact on civilian life remains profound. the United Nations recorded a sharp 72% surge in the loss of civilian life in conflict zones in 2023, coupled with a record high of over 120 million forcibly displaced persons by the end of 2024. The human rights framework faces compounding issues such as climate change, which threatens the rights to life and health through environmental degradation. This has created a hazardous environment for advocates, with environmental human rights defenders facing substantial risk to their personal safety. Navigating a fair and constructive way forward requires key action across key primary fronts. Strengthening social safety nets through the establishment of universal social protection floors is vital to close the inequality gap and safeguard essential economic rights. Enhancing accountability is paramount. The international community must increase support for mechanisms that investigate and prosecute serious violations of humanitarian law, thereby countering impunity and restoring the rule of law. Also, the protection of civic space must be prioritized by regulating the digital sphere to ensure strong privacy rights and by enacting specific legal safeguards that protect activists, journalists, and human rights defenders from attacks, allowing them to perform their essential work without fear. Ultimately, ensuring human rights remain an ongoing commitment that demands measurable action over rhetorical assurance. By reinforcing the UDHR's principles through strategic investment in social protection, accountability, and the safeguarding of civic and digital freedoms, the global community can successfully transition these values from legal ideals into the everyday essentials that defines a life of dignity, freedom, and equality for all people. Praise Matthias, SOUQ News TV.
And the rules hold the reasons why.
My name is Muiba Wonu Folami, an indigenous of Lagos State, Ikorodu, to be specific. I was born in Lagos 86 years ago, and to the glory of God, I'm still alive and well, and trying to be a relative in the cause of women. I attended primary school. I started at Ansarudin Alakuru School. From there to CMS Girls School, and then Queen's College, Lagos. From Queen's College, I went to the Portsmouth College of Technology for my A-levels, and then University of London for my first degree in law. The same university for my master's degree in law. I had, between obtaining my master's and my first degree, I was in Nigeria to do the mandatory law school course. I was one of the last people to do a 3-month course before it was changed to 1 year. And then went back to England for my master's. And from there to lecture at the University of Zambia. Back to Nigeria, I was appointed by Dr. Taslim Elias, the CJ of Nigeria, to the Commission for Advance Notice to Lawyers of Developments in Law. It was a commission funded by the Ford Foundation to keep lawyers abreast of the developments in law. I was a director there. Then from there, I was admitted to the Federal Ministry of Justice. After being legal advisor to many ministries, I ended up as the Director of Public Prosecutions for the Federation. And after that, whilst I was the Director of DPP, I was appointed Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Lagos State. After retirement, I've been involved in social work, in religion. I've always had religion, but I spend more time on religion. I read, I watch telly, and I live a good life to the glory of God. You see, when you begin to think that it was not until 2007 that women started to get equal pay in tennis tournaments. And it was something that was fought for. Little things like that does not add to equality. But when it was done, it may be small, but at work, even at work in employment, women are still discriminated against. And most women do two jobs. They look after the home, and they do the normal work that a man does in an office. Why I fail to understand this inequality in the treatment of women is that the work, the responsibilities in the workplace is not reduced for women, even though we do not want to be paid the same salary as men. It's a fight that has continued, and in that area, I think we need to do more to push for more recognition. Women have contributed immensely to the society. The men that are now resisting equal pay were brought up by women. Exactly. That's what I do not understand, that they can think like that. We continue to push.
But how can we speed this up?
By bringing it to the attention of world powers, recognition by every country of equal opportunities, equal pay. I want to know, I want somebody to explain to me the jobs that women cannot do.
Yeah.
They've contributed immensely. Even in the new thing, IT, we're at par with men. So I do not see the reason for it. Unfortunately, I did not experience it, because when I left university, I practiced law briefly in my uncle's chambers before I went to University of Zambia as a lecturer. There, my position was enhanced in the sense that I was a foreigner, and I got all the benefits of being a foreigner, serving in their service. Fortunately, in Nigeria today, the federal government does not discriminate in terms of salaries. Whether you're a man or a woman, you get the same salary scale. And you are promoted on equal basis. Kudos to the federal government, to Nigeria for that. But in the private sector, things are different. In some companies, this is the areas that we have to work on because the job content is the same. Some of these facilities are available in Nigeria. I learned by being a member of the Society for the Disabled that every government body must admit a certain percentage of women and of disabled people. So most times this opportunity is not taken. They are bound to employ them. We continue to push for that to be implemented in most ministries. It's important because it's there. You have to take a certain percentage of disabled people to work in government positions. It's important that we work to enforce that rule in our society. When it comes to discrimination, Nigeria is way ahead of some developed countries maybe because through slavery, we faced discrimination right from the beginning. We now know how to resist it. But in my country, Nigeria, in the federal government, in the state government, there is no discrimination. It may happen in private organizations, but they must continue to push to let them understand that the job content is the same. Well, you see, traditionally, under our culture, women are in the other room. To borrow the quotation.
Yeah.
That's our society, that's our culture. It's going to take a long time to evolve. In my time, female education was not so-called popular. It's only the educated few that strove to send their children to school, their girl child to school. They end up trading with their mothers or going to market and getting married off early. But as education began to rise in our community, its value was seen by my parents and others of their contemporaries to educate the girl child. And I believe the society is benefiting from that. So we must continue to push for the education of women, of girls. I have fought that, when I read that, the certain state government has appointed look at our National Assembly, 4 women in the Senate. Isn't that shameful? And that is the society. We have to continue to push women up. Let these political parties know that we want women. Let us organize ourselves to continue to vote for women massively. I give kudos to our governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. His cabinet is, women is well represented in his cabinet. And I enjoy that, I love him for that. And I continue to urge him to do more. He's done a lot. I think Lagos State has the largest representative of women in cabinet. First of all, they have to project themselves in their office space, their workspace. Let everybody know that they are equal to the task. Let us organize. There's a lot of society groups and societies that cater for the interest of women. I believe now violence against women is reducing in the society because there are sanctions for such behavior. I must say that speaking to the organization in charge of violence against women, I was amused to learn that some men come there to complain and that they are also being violated and abused.
Yes, it's a two-way thing.
It's a two-way thing. So that is reducing our society. Education of the girl child is important. We have to let the locals know that education is important. Let them showcase to them the lives of those who have been educated and who are holding high positions. I'm glad that our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has returned history to the classrooms. It's important. Let them know about people that have contributed to the development of our societies and country. It's important. Yes, it's education. It's education. Once people are educated and they know that there is nothing a man can do that a woman cannot do when it comes to the workplace. We have women engineers, miners, and also all over there. Give me a job specific that a woman cannot do, then I'll change my views. So the moment you begin to upgrade education, let government now continue to vote more for education. I don't believe we are doing enough. There is a UN convention, and I think Nigeria is part of that convention, that a certain amount of a nation's income should be devoted to education. I'm not sure whether Nigeria is complying with that. But some states are better than others. And we must, education, I believe in education of the girl child. Some states now are taking children, girls off the street. Walking is completely prohibited. Things like that will help. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we are not advanced enough to use our votes to change things. We are still not voting for individuals. We are voting for party, irrespective of performance. Education will help. And when we join other nations for the same purpose, we will get results. our organizations who are fighting for women in Nigeria should join worldwide organizations to showcase our own situation and learn. I believe that when you talk to others, you come back with ideas on how to improve things. So we must improve things by telling women in positions to show, to continue to prove that they are more than up to the task. It will not come to us on a platter of gold. We must show by our actions and behavior that we are up to the task. Of course, some women are wrong in claiming equal rights to their husbands and they have. I completely abhor that behavior. Even though they are husband and wife, the man in my culture remains the head. You should be respected. His views should be respected. It's only now the condition of living is so high that you join the two incomes together to run the house. In the past, it was the men that ran the house to pay for everything. Maybe some of these women are thinking that because they are contributing a quota to the development, that they have equal rights. Yes, they have equal rights on the upbringing of the children in their homes and everything. But respect is important. That will keep the home, and the children will learn and imbibe it into their own children too. Equal right does not, in my view, mean that you can be rude, can not submit to your husband's wishes. Equal right means something differently. Respect comes out of it. It's important. I go out and I'm like appalled at the way women dress. There's a competition to show as much of your body, to do that as your as much of your body that you can. It's absolutely disgusting. They're not women. They're no longer women. The exposure, things that if you did in my time, a member of the community will cover you with a cloth and send you home. Because community mattered at that time. You dare not misbehave outside your compound because this community is watching you and reprimanding you if you go wrong, if you behave badly outside. That is law. And that is why you see people, even their dressing, show disrespect to womanhood and to themselves and to the community. We must learn, teach our children etiquette of dressing, speech, how to think and speak in a decent manner. We don't have it anymore. We're losing it, and it's shameful because people are appreciating naked women on the streets. Yeah. Both sides. If people dress badly and you tell them and ignore them, they won't try the next time. For instance, I believe nobody can dress to come to my house or to come to my party like a naked woman. I will turn her back. I will turn her back. So that's the type of thing that we should all do. Let the people doing this know that we do not appreciate things like this. when the society itself corrects it, we must correct it individually. It doesn't, if their parents cannot correct it, we must, by ignoring them and not allowing them to come near us. Show our women that have contributed to the society. Yeah. Show them, showcase them, showcase them.
Yeah.
We have the first woman senior advocate of Nigeria. We have Okonjo-Iweala. We have, in the UN. We have all sorts. We have what's this pharmaceutical woman? She's done so much. The younger ones are there. Little ones like Shadi Okoya is managing her husband's company and doing well. Let's encourage them. They are young. The young ones, they are working to improve the society. There's so many of them out there. We should showcase them. Let them know that we have women who are of top quality, intelligent, and well-behaved, and they dress well. Dressing well is dressing in a manner that is appealing to the eyes, not nakedness. That my darling, this new CJN of Nigeria.
Okay.
Who do that? I did talk about Kikiri. I mean, we're there. Female CJN. Yeah. And there are so many female chief judges all over the Federation. There are so many in the medical profession, in the engineering profession. We have pilots. So let them know that there is nothing that a woman cannot do. In IT, in everything, women are moving forward. We should showcase them. We should let their pictures be seen in our newspapers, in our news, in everything, to encourage young girls that you too can get there. If they don't see and if they don't know the history of these women, how they got there, they too will not be inspired. We have to inspire the young people with the achievements of women achievers. Kekere rose from magistrate to right to the top. I admire her. She's well composed, well behaved. Some of these people, when they become something, they lose their heads. They start with, no, she's so respectful, well behaved, well dressed. I don't think she would allow herself or her children to come out naked. Never. So people like that, Okonjo-Iweala the same. We have a lot.
So much. I think the bill is a good one for Nigeria. And I think that the bill will be a catalyst for business to thrive in Nigeria. So my position and my perspective to the bill would be that to be a very positive one for Nigeria going forward. If eventually the bill scales through the legislative processes and it have actually eventually become a law. So that would be my position. Thank you. Yeah, the bill will help business in different areas. Let me mention, for instance, the payee is part of cost for a business. It's part of staff cost. And for especially small businesses, which are the major backbone of the economy, the bill is proposing a reduction, that is proposing tax exemption for some category of lower staff cadre, which in essence is a cost reduction for businesses. So by that, it will help the business to thrive. Also, many people will come, by virtue of that, employ more people, which will bring a robust activity for the economy. And at the same time, there's some category of people that their tax will also be reduced compared to what is currently in operation. So it is a positive atmosphere for business. And when you look at it from the perspective of VAT too, you also see that there's going to be zero tax on some product. There's also going to be a tax exempt on some products, especially for masses, people, low income earner. So some certain products, there's going to be exemption. There's some certain product that's going to be zero tax related. So by that, it will bring a more robust business activity. So by it, and then it will have positive effect on business and economy in general. Yeah, the argument is important. It's very, very important. But when you look at it, fix the small business, it will encourage more small business. And also, even the 50 million turnover is not a small thing for business, though it is still small relatively to the economic activity. Then, but it is a plus, right? And again, for business that their activity are more than 50 million, then it's good that they should pay tax and contribute little as company income tax back to the economy. Now, if their taxes are used judiciously, then it will bring more infrastructure to the economy. Then there will be development in the country. Then we'll also be able to look at the advanced country. We envy them, we look at them that they are infrastructurals in places, then these things are not cheap. They are not cheap. So, but the main focus for now is that is in a positive trend. It's a positive trend. I encourage that the bill should be passed and the implementation then should be followed up so that it will bring a positive effect to the economic generally and the business will thrive going forward. Well, I don't see disadvantage, but I see challenge. Okay. Yeah, one of the things is that naturally, human beings were adverse to change. So if something is bringing a change, especially when you want to take us out of a comfort zone, we may not want to willingly agree with it. But for me, I think the positive and the benefits outweigh whatever probably challenge or the disadvantage we may envisage. So I still strongly believe that the bill is in the right direction for us. Okay, I think from the angle of the value-added tax, what I would like to say in that area is that it will help the lower income earners because, like I mentioned earlier, that there's some products that's going to be zero rated, which means that there is not going to be tax VAT on them. There are some that are totally tax VAT exempted, so which means that, and these products, they are products that are commonly, they are everybody really, but
more of a masses low-income earner will not, the VAT that will have been paid on it will have been an impact on them, then it's taking off. So I think from that perspective is also a good and a welcome one. And it compared to what was proposed before, a general increase in the VAT rates across board. So this one is narrow it down to a particular area. So wherein it also exempt or puts zero rated on some products that are commonly used by the masses. So it's a positive direction. It's a good one. Yeah, okay. One, from the tax perspective, one of the very good things about this bill is that it allows that you claim input fats. VAT is what you sell, what you buy. So the net effect of it is what you remit. Then this bill also helps to claim some expenses which currently is not in operation. So it's a positive one. Then again, you mentioned the increase in the VAT going forward. Well, let's appreciate that the increase is going to be gradual. That's one. Then two, let's also remember that the VAT, some of these products, they are not going to be with VAT again. That with common people like me and you, transport, there's not going to be VAT on it. Rent, no VAT on it. Food item, no VAT on it any longer. And many more. Health, no VAT on it any longer. So you can see that the VAT is going to be increased gradually, but it's not across board. So those basic that we know is every day is already been taken care of. So I think it should give it to the people that work on this bill. Okay, thank you so much for that angle and the question. I want to say that Federal Inland Revenue Services, they are really trying. And I can tell you, there's no system that doesn't have its own challenge. But FRS, they are trying. And they are moving from those days of Alanok. Now we have tax promise. You can do your filing right from the comfort of your office. You don't need to visit their office except there is a challenge. Right? So they are doing well, but they are not yet at the best. So, and there is room for improvement. They are already deploying technology. So what they need to do is to scale up and up to the task. But currently, they are doing well. So they just need to improve. Yeah, well, it depends on the perspective you look at it. Is it shrinking? Yes, we have some companies that are no more within the soul of the Nigerian. So in that case, their taxes is no more coming to us. But again, look at other businesses that are springing forth. So definitely those are coming to the tax net. And then again, there are some companies that are not, businesses that are not in tax net. So through the use of technologies by FRS, they're already bringing them to tax net. So the tax net is increasing. So the net effect of it, you can say, is increasing. Though we have some that are leaving the soul of Nigeria. So net effect of it, the tax net is increasing. Because we have people that businesses that are coming to Nigeria, and we have people that are businesses that are already in Nigeria, but they are not in tax net, but they are already bringing them to tax net. So it's like they are looking at perspective of increasing the threshold from 25 million to 50 million, as the case may be. Yeah, so are they saying that government should also still be taxing 25 million threshold? So we should applaud the bill that give opportunity for businesses that their threshold is less than 50 million, as the case may be. So, but from that angle, if you are looking at it that the business is shrinking, I don't see from that angle. I see from the angle of if the business is doing well and you are not to pay tax, rent, then your business is becoming robust, then you exceed the 50 million threshold, then you also come back to the tax to be paid. So it's a way of giving boost to the business, and by the time the business is doing well beyond that threshold, then they'll be able to give back to the society. So it's a win-win situation. It's like giving a kind of relief to a business for them to thrive, and when they become better, doing well, then it's an encouragement to business, which they will also come to the net after there. So it's a good one. The chairman of the year. The chairman. SOUQ. Yes.
How would you assess his performance so far?
Yeah, I think Mr. SOUQ is a reformer. Yes. Looking at the step he has taken after assuming the office, and I also see that he's somebody that is listening. He has a close relationship with the former chairman of FRS. Probably he has learned some of things from him, challenges that he faced when he was there. So I think he's helping the current chairman. And if you look at the revenue they are getting, they are meeting up with the target. And at the same time, if you look at the staff, I don't see much of issues, challenges within them. So those are the indices that you can look at from the performance of a leader. Look at the staff that is leading. Look at the target, the businesses also, are they fairly? So I think he's doing well, but he can do better.
Festivity is more than celebration. It is the soul of many communities. Festivals light up people's hearts, giving them a sense of identity, unity, and continuity. There are moments when culture speaks loudly, reminding generations to erode their values, norms, and traditions. In Anambra State, one of the most revered and celebrated festival is the Ofala Festival of Onitsha. Deeply rooted in history and spirituality, Ofala is not merely a royal ceremony, expression of pride, belonging, and resilience. It has become a unifying force, strengthening the bond between the monarch and his subject, while also positioning Onitsha on the global cultural map. According to research by Bayo Olaoye, veteran broadcaster and cultural analyst, the Ofala Festival has transformed into more than a cultural showcase. It has become a catalyst for socio-economic growth, contributing over 1 billion naira annually to local commerce through festival-related activities. This growth reflects in vibrant trade, booming hospitality, creative industries, and transport services that all thrive during the festive period. At its core, Ofala is our spiritual renewal. The monarch emerges from seclusion to commune with his people, marking the end of a sacred period of reflection and intersection for the community's well-being. Day 1 of the festival, known as Iru Ofala, is dedicated to the monarch. The Obi of Onitsha appears in majestic regalia, saluting his people to the rhythm of traditional drums, a display of authority, continuity, and grace. The second day, Azu Ofala, belongs to the people. Age-grade societies parade in vibrant uniforms. Dance troupes perform with energy. Entitled men and women honor the throne. The elite Uru Ordu women make their presence felt, while youths add vitality through the Ofala Youth Carnival, which has grown from a small-town procession into a major cultural feature. Together, these elements embody the inclusiveness of the festival, showing that Ofala is for everyone, regardless of age, gender, or social standing. The economic benefits are equally remarkable. Traders record peak sales, food vendors serve thousands, tailors and designers secure new commissions, hoteliers welcome visitors, and transporters enjoy increased patronage. What may appear as fleeting cultural activity, in reality, a vital revenue stream for the community. Beyond the festival, the momentum continues through initiatives like Onitsha Development Fund, which support entrepreneurs, women, and youth, helping to sustain cultural and economic growth all year round. For women play a central role, from the culinary teams that cater for guests to the Oru Ordu women who showcase elegance and tradition. Their contribution keep the spirit of the festival alive. The youth, through their carnival, embody continuity, ensuring that values of resilience, unity, and creativity are passed down to the next generation. In truth, Ofala is not just about ceremony, it is about renewal, identity, and opportunity. It tells the story of a people proud of their past, confident in their culture, and determined to shape their future. As Olaoye notes, the theme, often chosen for the festival, such as unity and perseverance, is more than symbolic. It is a timely reminder that communities thrive when they stay true to their roots, embrace resilience, and pursue collective progress. The Ofala Festival of Onitsha stands today as a celebration of heritage and driver of social-economic growth. It is proof that culture, when honored and properly harnessed, is not just memory, it is wealth, it is resilience, it is life. Ofala Onitsha, a tradition renewed, an economy strengthened, and a people united. Olumide Shokoya reporting for SOUQ News Television.
Traffic regulations are practices put in place in both developed and underdeveloped countries. They are designed to ensure the safety of all road users, reduce accidents, and promote orderly movement. Either you are a driver or a passenger, every road user is required to understand and follow these laws. Under obligations, drivers must possess a valid driver's license issued by the authorized body. In Nigeria, this is the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC.
Individual, like I've just said, most Nigerians, as we know, celebrate their date of birth. And as such, when you obtain a driver's license, says for 3 years or 5 years, you already know if you do it today, in the next 5 years, when you'll be celebrating your birthday, you are already aware that your license is due for renewal. You don't have to even wait until that date. By law, a month to that date, you should start processing the renewal of the driver's license.
While other countries have their respective designated authorities, vehicles must also be properly registered and insured, with up-to-date documentation readily available when requested by law enforcement officers. Mandatory rules include observing speed limits, which vary depending on the road type. In cities, the limit is 50 km per hour, increasing to 80 km per hour on highways and 100 km per hour on expressways. Before hitting the road, seat belts are mandatory for both drivers and front seat passengers. Also, all traffic signs, signals, and road markings must be obeyed. Drivers must remember that using a mobile phone while driving is a punishable offense unless assisted by a hands-free device. Drunk driving is illegal, with penalties ranging from fines and license suspension to imprisonment. For passengers, wearing seatbelt is essential, and distracting the driver should be avoided at all costs. In public transport, any reckless driving should be reported to the authorities, and pedestrians, on the other hand, must also cross at designated pedestrian crossings, zebra crossings, or pedestrian bridges where available. They should follow pedestrian traffic lights and only cross when the signal indicates it is safe. Looking left, right, and left again before stepping onto the road is crucial and should avoid running while crossing. Making eye contact with approaching vehicles ensures they see you before you proceed. By following traffic regulations, road users can prevent accidents, protect lives, and contribute to smoother transportation for everyone. Grace Komolafe, SOUQ News Television.
SOUQ Atlantic has become Nigeria's most sought-after city for its high-end infrastructure, prestige, and well-planned city layout, as reflected in an 8-lane boulevard, about 13 internal bridges, underground cables, and green footprints defined by over 30,000 trees. Additionally, having a building in the city has become a trend among the so-called big boys, as was the case with Old Ikoyi, Victoria Garden City, popularly called VGC, Osborne Foreshore, and now Banana Island. In this special report, Bayo Olaoye states that this talk of I belong and the prestige mentality has also spread to the big firms. Before now, Kingsway and Ozumba Mbadi were used to say that Victoria Island were the go-to locations for high-rise office buildings. These locations are home to iconic developments such as Kingsway Towers, Heritage Palace, Fanfa Towers, the Wings and the Waves, among others, making them Nigeria's equivalent of Silicon Valley. The SOUQ Atlantic City was modeled after the skyscraper district of Manhattan Island in New York City. It has become the new destination for big-ticket corporate firms which are building or relocating their new headquarters to the 10-square-kilometer city, rising off the coast of the Atlantic Ocean in Lagos. The city is attracting investment interests in both residential and commercial real estate, the latest being MTN Nigeria, preparing to build a new headquarters. MTN is coming on the heels of First Bank, which recently turned the turf to build a 40-floor corporate head office, making the city's most iconic development so far. Prior to this courageous and ambitious entry into SOUQ City by MTN, First Bank, Dangote Group, and the Embassy of the United States of America have taken positions there. developing a new head office and a diplomatic facility respectively. Much earlier, a co-development company had occupied the city as the developer of the Azuri Towers, offering both residential and commercial facilities for high clients and corporate bodies. Arcland Property Investment and Oak Homes are also in the city, developing A&A Towers simultaneously. These are the residential developments that will be standing on the 22nd floor and the 33rd floors respectively. Other developments are the Pan-African Towers by Periwinkle Residences, Eco Pearl with Champagne Tower and Eco Pearl Black Tower, Amni Towers and Ani International Petroleum Development Company, and Louisville Towers by Total Energy Staff Cooperative and Multipurpose Society. Louisville will comprise 300 residential homes spread between 2 towers, a world-class sporting center and a club, retail outlets and other facilities. It is designed to employ modern technology to achieve smart living and high standards. Eco Atlantic is an exclusive luxury city with superior infrastructure that appeals to the kind of investors we have seen in the city so far.
The Trump administration has once again thrust U.S. immigration policy into the global spotlight with the recent announcement of a new voluntary self-deportation program that offers a $1,000 stipend to undocumented immigrants who agree to leave the country on their own. This incentive-based strategy is a calculated shift from the traditional, more aggressive deportation measures and is already stirring debate among policymakers, immigration advocates, and the public alike. The program, introduced in early May 2025, is being implemented by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. It allows undocumented migrants to register for voluntary departure using the CBP-1 app, after which they will receive a government-funded flight and a $1,000 stipend upon confirmation of their exit. Homeland Security officials argue that this move is designed to save taxpayers significant amounts of money. According to data provided by the DHS, a forced deportation process costs the government an average of $17,121 per individual. In contrast, the stipend program is seen as a cost-effective alternative that also reduces the strain on overcrowded detention centers and court dockets. This new measure is a part of a broader, intensified effort by the Trump administration to curb illegal immigration and tighten control over the U.S. southern border. Since returning to power, President Trump has reinstated several policies from his first term, while introducing new ones aimed at deterring undocumented migrants. Deportation numbers have surged, with nearly 66,000 individuals removed from the U.S. within the first 100 days of his new term. Family detention centers, once heavily criticized for their impact on children, have been brought back into operation, while legal aid for unaccompanied minors have seen severe cuts. These developments come at a time when the United States is experiencing a historic high in its foreign-born population. As of 2023, nearly 47.8 million immigrants were residing in the U.S., with an estimated 11 million of them undocumented. Many of these individuals have lived in the country for over a decade, raising families and contributing to the economy. Immigrants, regardless of status, are a vital part of the U.S. labor force, contributing billions in taxes and significantly shaping industries such as agriculture, construction, and caregiving. Critics of the $1,000 self-deportation offer argue that the program may oversimplify the complex reasons behind undocumented migration. Many of those targeted by the program have deep roots in the U.S., including U.S.-born children, community ties, and long-term employment. Human rights organizations warn that such policies while less aggressive on the surface, may pressure vulnerable individuals into making life-altering decisions without legal representation or full knowledge of their rights. There are also concerns about the ethical implications of offering monetary incentives for departure, particularly in cases involving asylum seekers or those fleeing violence. From a strategic standpoint, the administration insists that this approach is a practical way to reduce the migrant population without resorting to mass raids or extended detentions. Supporters say it offers dignity and a choice to undocumented migrants while protecting national interests. However, immigration experts question the actual effectiveness of the program, noting that similar efforts in the past have yielded limited results. The offer of $1,000 may not be enough to motivate individuals who have risked everything to seek better lives in the United States. The debate around this policy underscores the broader tensions within American immigration discourse, balancing border control and national sovereignty among humanitarian obligations and economic realities. With the 2026 midterm elections approaching, immigration remains one of the most polarizing and politically charged issues on the national agenda. In the wider global context, policies like this could set a precedent as other countries monitor the US approach, especially those in Europe and parts of Africa facing rising migration numbers. Questions around voluntary migration, incentives, and state-led deportation policies are likely to spark wider international debates. What remains clear is that the Trump administration's latest move is not just a domestic policy. It is a bold, controversial experiment in reshaping the global migration conversation. I am Moyosore Adibi for SOUQ News TV.